quote from a guy named
What's that for now?
Hampstead Washburn. And he was a marriage couple who came up here and was.
Oh, okay.
24 people, oh wait, right here, 24, 25.
So I used that
25.
quote and gave credit in my speech. And then it was recorded, so I put it on our website, or our Facebook,
Is that your real water?
whatever. Anyway, this woman from Catastrophe then calls me and says,
Yep.
that was my great grandpa. Wow. Hampstead Washburn. Small world
It is, it is.
up here. I mean, but all these movers and shakers, the big financial platform, the founder of GM, the finance.
Pretty room.
And then longer.
Here, I stole yours.
This town, yes, hold on.
Yeah.
Moose tracks.
They
Yeah,
had a custom practice with the city
2.0.
because They didn't want the railroad
That's
going
new.
on, but he was willing to put it.
You should have just called it that.
So the
Bring back
railroad,
old memories.
front of his thing, they said, no, they went like this right here, and they took that thing down and hauled it out on flat cars, railroad cars.
The whole house.
The whole house. Tore it down and moved it to Brookline, Massachusetts,
Wow.
where it's still standing. Yeah, that was it. And he could have been wonderful for
And
the
that
city.
was
of Marquette.
I don't think that might not be proposed, but this
Yeah,
was
it could have been
plans that
wonderful
were
for the
done
city
in
of Marquette.
We
Paris,
have a donation from an anonymous donor in
Wildwood,
Boston.
New Jersey.
Oh,
So they must have took the same,
Could be some family,
the same
because there was a lot of it, you know.
Just like that.
And the copper mining up here too, you know, kept the East Coast rich.
But I like the look, like, that'd be fun.
I don't know if we're gonna make it. Moose tracks.
But anyway,
No.
Such a short season.
Go-karts, it was so fun.
Besides that, yeah.
And the ice cream.
Yeah.
The solar,
But how many times can you go, you know?
Mm-hmm.
the solar thing.
Yeah, on those interior.
I don't know, we're getting pretty touristy though.
Time you tell somebody that they don't have
Yeah.
And if they can use the clubhouse for something else, in the winter, maybe.
to, so you just give one to Lenny, we keep one on file.
It's gonna be a covered golf course, no, just kidding.
Residential. Interior alteration.
Well, it's
Jeez.
after time.
Okay.
No,
I mean, was it residential?
It was me, I was
no,
picking it.
I'm just saying, residential is handled,
I got here, right?
like so.
That goes to the county.
I guess we can call the meeting to order here for the February 23rd Marquette Township Planning Commission meeting. And we'll do the roll call.
Steve Hagan, Lake Enchantment.
Dennis Ferraro, Eagles Nest Road.
Bethany Cody, Lake Enchantment.
Jim Johnson, White Oak Drive.
Linda Winslow, Norwood Street.
Eric Powers, staff planner.
Jason McCarthy, planning and zoning administrator.
Approval of the agenda.
Are we gonna have the election of officers again?
No, they've been done.
They were done last week.
Well, it says an election of officers
2
on
weeks.
my.
Oh, they
Oh.
just scratched that
Oh, yeah.
from your,
All right.
Consider it
that made it on
scratched.
the agenda. I didn't see that.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Minutes from the previous meeting, February 9th, 2022.
Move to approve.
So there's just one small correction that Eric's gonna take care of. It's Linda,
Hers.
yeah, Donkers was not here. She was not here.
Okay. You kept referring to we in the,
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
assumed she was sitting there silently.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, they have their Facebook page together, so,
Yeah.
Maybe that's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
you probably saw that.
she probably wouldn't, yeah. Maybe she was busy.
She was there in spirit.
Move to amend with that, move to approve with that amendment.
I don't think I can second.
Is that support?
I'm supposed to write 'em.
No? Can't second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes.
Public comment? Anyone wishing to speak on anything before we get going on other things here?
If we're on the agenda, do we need to?
Yeah, you're on the agenda, so. Okay. Let's head right into new business then. Let's open the public, Jason, you want to talk first about it?
Sure. The township had updated their recreation plan and had it approved in 2020. As a result of the new opportunity with the Rosses and the property acquisition that was supported by the planning commission, the rec committee, and the township board, the plan had to be amended to include that project, that property. So in doing so, census data was updated. Actually, we were able to include that. We also updated a number of projects that were completed, such as the tunnel project. And then the action program, which is pretty much the thrust of the project, because in order to be eligible to apply for grants through the MNRTF, you have to have a plan that's on file and approved by them. So the action program lists any of the projects that the township wants to try to accomplish in the next 5 years. They're broken down into different years for projects, but they can be applied for at any time during that 5-year period. They just have to be in the plan, and you have to demonstrate that you've conducted some planning exercises, that you've gotten public input, which we did at our input session. And so that plan has been approved. It's been out for a 30-day review, and there's been some comments received from the supervisor. She had some sentence structure, typographical, that's usually what she hones in on. So that was helpful. And you may have some comments as well, or the audience, because it is a public hearing, but it was notified in the newspaper. It's been online for 30 days, and this is kind of consistent if you don't have an open house with food and people don't generally come. So we feel that if you look at the survey that was done in leading up to the update of the master plan, and then this recreation plan with the public input session that we had, that our rec plan is in line with what the majority of the residents want. So this public hearing is a formality in that if the planning commission approves the plan tonight and the resolution that was included in the packet, then it'll go to the township board and they have their own resolution. Once that's done, we'll take the meeting minutes, that resolution, and the resolution from the board, send all that to Lansing, have them review it, and then hopefully we'll be on file for the next 5 years with this plan. And then we'll be able to start putting together a grant application for the acquisition before April 1. So following timelines and procedure, essentially.
So this, the one that you are amending right now, is the document that was produced in 2017, is that right?
No, it was actually updated, I believe it was 2019 and then ratified in 2020.
So that, even though that was a 5-year plan, halfway through it was amended and re-ratified again then, at that point?
No, we're amending it now and updating it and sending it back down to include the project that was discussed about this.
Is a new one being done this year too? I mean, you got one from 22 to 26. What are we working on that one now?
Right, so if approved, we'll be eligible to apply for grants in 2022, 23, 24, 25, and 26.
Okay, so this plan is being amended before it's approved?
It's we just did a full update. It was a lot easier to do it that way.
Okay. And you're adding newer stuff to it yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
A lot of the projects that were in the 2014 to 2019 plan were accomplished. So between the rec committee and public input, there were some projects that didn't make the last plan that are now in there, such as like off of Grove Street, we would like to put a trailhead there.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm just, so this is not a fresh new document, this is just an updated document that just progresses on in 5-year increments.
Correct.
Basically.
Yes.
So you're just saying, all right, we've done
The
that.
lion's share of the document.
And now we've got
is-
some new stuff we want to add, we're just going to add on to it, and we're just going to let that go through?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, I was looking for.
So, yeah, again, once this is approved, it allows us to be eligible for MNRTF, Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund, the oil and gas tax, supply that funding source with funds. And then they dole those out on a competitive basis. So we've been very successful with grants since I started. I think somewhere along the lines of a few $1 million. So the underpass, Schwemmwood, some of the work at Lions Field. It's been a great program to work with. We have a great reputation with them. So we want to make sure that we keep that plan up to date so that we're still eligible. And now we have we have 2 small parks, maybe a third private park. But Lions Field is essentially built out. Schwemmwood Park, there's only maybe one more phase there. That would be a restroom, and that's nice. So now we're looking at maybe having a regional park.
Could I ask, the property that's across from 906 Technologies, is that still owned by the township?
It is.
Is that up for sale, or does the township have other plans for that?
Well, it's been kind of floating in limbo for a while, but I have been consistently referencing that property to private developers. And actually, as a result, I need to talk to Supervisor Drain when she gets back. There was an inquiry from the Housing Task Force that I was appointed to, and they're looking for properties to utilize the brownfield and maybe create some housing, affordable housing.
Is it large enough?
It's 5 acres.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that hasn't been discussed, that was just something that was discussed yesterday in a meeting, but it is for sale, it is marketable, and
That's adjacent to Schwemmer Park?
it's abutting, yes.
Abutting to, yeah, we saw that on our tour. You showed it to us, you pointed it out,
Yep.
that area.
It's
Okay.
kind of an interesting piece because you have commercial on one side and park on the other, so it would, in my view, make a great, even multifamily residential lot.
It's been there for a long time, that's why I asked.
Yeah,
So the board did talk about it again, and yes, it is for sale. And yes, Jason addressed some of those things, and there's a whole stuff worked out marketing it.
What's the price?
I don't know that, they didn't tell me.
we had it listed at, I think 550,000 was the,
Ain't bad.
you got 3-part service, adjacent to
The highway?
the highway, it's pretty marketable piece.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different shape, but the right developer with an open mind, I think, could do real well with it.
How does the township interface with the market of developers? Do we have a intermediary broker that the township employs to explore? It's you. Okay.
Well, I mean, I field phone calls, I'll pass it on to the manager suggests it to the supervisor.
Okay.
And then the board ultimately would make a decision on any proposal that would come through or offer.
There's no active marketing plan?
No, I think Steve Pelto was under contract to list it for a while, but like I said, it's it's above my pay grade, I should say.
Is he still on the board?
Pelto?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no. But yeah, it's really up to the board as to how aggressive they want to be with, selling it, or there was talk about actually using part of it as a match to keep building Schwemmwood. So that would all kind of tie together. But, the board needs to do their strategic planning and figure out what to do with it. But at
Yeah.
this time, that's where that piece sits.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm also not a big fan of the township being like a realtor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I understand.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's open the public hearing then at 7:14. Public hearing number 022322-1, Marquette Township Recreation Plan, 2022 to 2026 adoption. Anyone wishing to speak?
Unfortunately, mini golf course was not requested by residents, but that wasn't because it wasn't desired or it wouldn't be desired.
Right.
But that would be a huge undertaking for the township to staff and maintain and construct. And so maybe other communities have done that. The township is not, and that project is obviously not listed as one of the action items, but recreation's a very popular thing in our area, as you know, and so it's nice to diversify everything too, and have some options for people. I don't have anything to say on the plan other than I thank Eric and the planning commissioners who attended the open house, and I think we got really good feedback from the public, which was helpful.
All right, well, seeing that there's no one else to speak, let's close the public hearing at 7:16. And commissioners? Any questions or comments or motions?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve this Marquette Township Recreation Plan 2022-2026 for adoption.
Second.
Any discussion or comments?
No, thank you for your support, and I'll get, if it's approved here, sounds like it will be, then I'll get Jim's signature on a clean resolution sometime later in the week.
I thought it was well-written and addressed the requests of the residents. I'm sure there's always more requests, but I think you have to start with something. And I was pleased to see that the roof over the ice rink was still there. We had some discussion at the board meeting about that.
I guess I had one question. I wasn't at the meeting for the comments, and was there any thought given to any kind of an outdoor swimming pool? Any chance or any suggestions about that? Since there's nothing around here that
Splash
you know,
pad was discussed, but as far as an outdoor pool, no. When you apply for these the outdoor recreation grants, I'm sure pool would qualify because it is outdoor and it's recreation. But I guess I've never really considered that. One would be a staffing issue, two is a liability issue, and then three would be
Cost.
Probably cost would be one. Staffing would be, if you can afford it, it would be staffing.
I would say.
But, you know, maybe the next round, if we get enough people that desire that, then, you know, maybe it'll end up in there. But it's kind of a popular vote thing as far as what's in the plan itself. The things that were supported have to be supported by the residents, they have to be supported by the rec committee and the planning commission and ultimately the board.
People are interested in splash pads. I know Lance has one, and probably the target audience is children under 8.
Yeah, Lawrence has a really nice park.
Yeah, so I don't know how Lance did it, but maybe I should go.
Alpena
Maybe I
has
should go
one, too.
see. Who
Very
does?
nice. Alpena, they just
Yeah,
did it a couple years ago.
you know, it could kind of help your swimming pool, but not quite. I always felt bad when Shira's pool closed. There is no supervised swimming area as much as I would like to see. Yeah.
I agree. Well,
Yeah.
not even just supervised, but warm swimming. I mean, you know, you can't start swimming in Lake Superior till August, and you have about a week when you can swim in there, and you know, but Shira's pool wasn't really warm back then either, so.
You got pushed in though, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's such a short season, it's hard to
Yeah.
rationalize spending the money on it, but I was just wondering, so. Okay, well, we need a roll call vote for this then. So, you thought I was gonna forget, didn't you?
Nope. No, this is your second year as a chair now, so I would assume you pick some stuff up.
Okay, Commissioner Hakinen,
Yes.
Ferraro, yes.
okay.
Cody, yes.
Jim Johnson, yes?
Linda Winslow, yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
And let's go to the site plan review. Jason.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the family is here, Mr. Demers and his family. have proposed to construct a mini golf course, 18 holes, on the eastern edge of the township. If you can keep that going, keep her going. Right there, well, that one's fine too. So if you are familiar with where the Kubota site is, this would be directly across the highway on the south side. It is in the development district. This is listed as a use that's permitted by right unless it's adjacent to residential zoning or residential land use, which it is not. So staff considers this use to be permitted by right. And as such, they presented a nice site plan. The driveway has some speed control curves in it, some nice landscaping, associated parking with the appropriate curb islands, and then there's a clubhouse.
Who
knows what they're doing.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
We'll be glad to get a new system.
And then that kind of channels people onto the clubhouse and onto the course. Kind of tough to see, that's why I included some pictures of an actual course later in the development. But stormwater is kind of a big issue. That is going to drain to some retention ponds. The driveway, it looks like, was going to drain down to the highway drainage system. So that'll be split there. And then I did see an area for the septic field and then an alternative field. Looks like it's well organized. They'll have some visibility from the highway too. So there, you look back, you know, in that area, we do have a overlay district with access management, so there's no development. You don't see anything that will occur within 20 feet of the right-of-way there. And that's for safety purposes and a myriad of other things. But, MDOT's taken a look at the driveway access, and they've been supportive of that. I guess going through the staff report, the one or few items that jumped out and what the staff is recommending approval on with some contingencies are 3D. So stormwater maintenance plan, an agreement with easements to the township, if needed, will be submitted and worked out with our public works superintendent. So that's a contingency that we're recommending approval on. 3E, utility services. Of course, they're going to do well and septic here, so you'll have permits that will be required from the county. And of course, you know, we'll want to take a look at those and make sure those have been secured.
So Jason, is
Yep.
that because our utilities don't go that far?
Correct, yeah. Our water system ends at the Meyer gas station, essentially.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We got 3H, landscaping, the buffer yards there, and the one thing that I recommended that I didn't see, and maybe it's on here, I don't know, I looked at this thing a number of times, but the dumpster location.
Yeah.
Very simple thing, we'll fix that. 3I is signs, any signs will be permitted separately as they always are through our office. And then lighting, we have a dark sky ordinance in the township, I'm sure Sav's made you aware of that. So it's pretty much the industry standard right now anyway, are these downcast LEDs. And then 4, so all the health department permits, Marquette County permits. 4B is a financial guarantee to ensure all the landscaping is done and as-built are submitted back to the township. I put in there C, which is to say that you know, you're abutting the Iron or Heritage Trail, and at some point you may want to, I'm sure you've thought about tying into that and putting a bike rack in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they've got room to grow, which is neat too, so I'd be interested to ask the applicants if they have any other plans in the future. And then one of the main things that we've run into before is 3D. So during construction, a gravel tracking pad shall be installed at the throat of the driveway so that they're not hauling mud and whatnot. If you're gonna start early spring, it can be kind of sloppy, as you know. So we are recommending full approval contingent upon those items being submitted and approved, which I don't see being an issue, so. The applicant is here along with the civil engineer, Brian Savline, so if you have any questions of them, please ask. Or Brian, if I missed anything to add.
No, that was pretty thorough on Brian Savline, the civil engineer on the project. All of the contingencies are pretty much exactly what we need to do. We can't get health department approval until we do test pits in the spring. We picked a location right now where we could possibly do a mounted system if we need to. There's a lot of rock in the area. We did do some rock borings. The drive was one of the first things we looked at when we started. I've had Zoom meetings with MDOT and got oversight distances and everything like that with it. If you guys want to extend utilities to us, we gladly, jump into those, but.
By ordinance, you can run a 12-inch main up the highway if you want.
So, but there, we've discussed the growth of the property as well. As you know, it's almost 4 acres, and we're only using about 30 to 40% of it right now. And I think really depending on the water and the sewer results we get when we do our wells and what we'll be able to do health department wise may dictate what else potentially would come with that, with the acknowledgement that, any future site expansion there would, it's gonna be run back through the township again. But it's definitely, goes in line with recreation planning that you talked about. Tying into the Heritage Trail would be a great opportunity for these guys, so we are not against that in any ways. Right now, it's just a seasonal operation, obviously, but there's been some discussion and, possibilities of, maybe it fits into a cross-country ski trail head or something like that would fit into some of the township planning. So, with the new grant opportunities you may have, I think you'd have a willing participant here, and you can ask David any questions you may have. But yeah, we have no issue with any of the qualifications that have been put on it, and we'll gladly answer any more questions you have.
I have a question. Are you gonna have enough parking spaces if there's 24 spaces? It's the one hard thing I had to get out of your ordinance, that you didn't actually have a mini golf deal, and I went through other communities, and typically they recommend one place per hole, and one for an employee that's tending and that's why we chose 24, just as an initial concept. Definitely have the ability on the site to expand it if we need to in the future. Because it looks like this is gonna be a very popular place. That's what we hope. And 24 slots on a weekend, like. Yeah, well, when you're thinking of the in and out of people on the course, that's kind of what it's based on, but. Okay. But the pavilion plan right now still hasn't been finalized, and you'll see that when it comes, and depending on how things pick up, the potential for birthday parties, things like that, or different events that may happen may require more parking, and at that time, I think, if they're in that situation, I'll gladly come back in front of you and ask for. One step at a time, huh? Yeah. And the site works out nice for storm drain. There's a lot of low land on the backside of it that we can't really use to develop that area, so we're trying to. For the drainage of the lot? Yeah, it fits pretty good, so.
Do you have to do any blasting on the site?
Yeah, we're thinking we probably need to do about 500 yards to get up if you're familiar with this site, it's like rock faces. But we did get on the east end. We did some borings in there, and to keep the grade still relatively smooth coming into the site, we're still gonna have to do some blasting. So.
Free landscaping rock.
Absolutely.
You
You
would
would
think,
to stop the mud from getting on the road.
one of the first things you would see happen out there is that if we were to get approval, we clear the area where we're working, and we'd be doing test pits up there to verify some rock and things like that. So what'll happen is the Oberstar is the local contractor, but Harris actually will come in and do the course themselves. So it's, they'll work with local contractors to set that up, but they have their own, I think we included the spec book that they provide.
What's the optimistic point of opening? Ribbon cutting?
If it was up to Dave, it'd be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
We went over the Cross General Contracting is who we're using out of Munising. And we went through a best case scenario, and it was third week in June.
Oh, wow.
But that's thread in the needle everywhere, permits, county, the build, and Harris comes from Pennsylvania. They have 4 crews that they rotate throughout the United States at any given time. We've put a deposit down to guarantee we're first billed on one of their 4 crews. So yeah, if everything goes perfect, third week in June.
And you think construction would start when?
As soon as we can push some snow out of the way.
yeah, we're really looking to start, first thing in the spring. We don't have to deal with road restrictions.
When is spring around here, though?
Yeah, well, who knows after this week, so. But yeah, as soon as possible, we'll be applying right away now for our MDOT permit if we get approval tonight. But the health department won't even step on the site until we can dig a hole that they can come over and look at.
Can't confirm.
Yeah, that's probably our biggest leg right there. The other would be probably pumps and, whatever else. There's huge delay right now in a lot of mechanical equipment and stuff still from COVID.
So I have a question, and it might not be anything that's even, you guys can even answer, but is there a Michigan left that's gonna allow the traffic to flow?
No.
No, right now, that's it's about a 16-foot median.
So that's what's
There
gonna
right now.
happen, it's gonna be a median thing and
Yeah.
turning in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't, we asked that question. Every project like this along the corridor goes through a corridor review committee, which I sit on, so that's a monthly meeting. And it just didn't meet the standards for having a dedicated left.
So not yet, I mean.
Well, right.
Right,
Yeah.
it'll depend on development. I'm just always concerned about the target audience for this, the age crossing that. Well, I'm just concerned.
Yeah. No, and the state has ADT requirements that throw that Michigan left and everything else. And I think we're like 20% of it, if that.
Not that I'm a fan of Michigan left,
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Oh, they're good. I mean, when you get them in, it just, I don't know how soon that next movement's getting done up there.
Yeah, well, just something to kind of think about as
Yeah.
people. Not a roundabout, mind you.
Is there room for a pool on that property?
Actually, when
There probably is, Jim.
a water park or something up there,
Splash pad.
there is
Splash
some
pad.
unique little terrain to that. And I turned and looked at them right away when you said that.
Well, don't think there's some water traps.
There definitely is. There's, with what they have there, but the property itself has some natural just retention areas and everything built into it already. And a lot of it's because of the old railroad grade. That's now the Heritage Trail. That whole area is just a big low area. So.
As a result,
The problem is the water, I think, for a water park. I don't know, well capacity, whether we could get enough to do something like that, but I'll tell you, that could be an idea.
you talk about an entity that installed infrastructure without any permitting. I mean, think of where the railroad ran through. Straight line through whatever, no
Yeah.
permits needed, let's get her done.
Yeah,
And as a result of that, there is residual, runoff issues. It creates these wetland areas. I mean, the Art of Heritage Trail is an amazing trail because think of all the weight that has traveled on that corridor for
oh, the
over
iron
100
that's
years.
just been-
It's the most compact road surface you could ever want.
It's interesting.
So if I can ask a few questions. Yeah, I gotta get to the page here. So when you're talking about the stormwater, you're talking about draining about 4 acres approximately?
Yeah,
And
it's
into this-
close to
into the
that.
Marquette Township stormwater system, is that correct?
No, it'll be retained on site. Like the parking, the building, and the golf course actually have some ponds within it. We've designed a retention basin for those to drain back into the property at the end of the year. All of our parking lot drainage and from the building we have going, remaining on site and heading to the south. The only thing that we couldn't capture is the drive coming up. We're up in grade, you know, so we'll,
If I can ask you about these grades on this drawing, and my eyesight's not that great, it looks like the parking lot is set down, is that right? It's got,
We
it's got
actually-
retention, it's got retention base on the northeast corner, it's got another retention base on the southeast corner, the
Yes.
southwest corner, excuse me. The one on the northeast corner is not labeled, but so it's gonna be down, you're gonna have slopes down in every direction down to that parking lot, is that correct?
primarily, yes.
Okay, and so that this up here, that it is not labeled as stormwater detention, is stormwater detention there?
Yeah, it is. That's where the pumps, when they do their winterization
Okay.
and drain their water features,
Okay,
they all pump back to that basin
This
right
basin
there.
here?
Yes.
okay.
And
So-
if that were to overflow,
Yeah,
it actually comes across the parking lot to the basin on the southwest.
okay, so the water features that are on this part, how, are those gonna be provided by,
Those are by Harris, they're.
yeah, but the water for it?
The initial fillings will come from our well, you know, to.
You have waters on site now?
Well, we're hoping that we get good water.
I mean,
We've got
it looks like there's a lot of rock on
There
that
is,
site.
that's one of our biggest questions is our well capacity.
Yeah, so as long as the cognizance of getting
Yeah,
water out of rock is,
yeah, and in regards to this, we're not really looking at, you know, we're not doing a restaurant or a hotel or something.
okay, so there's gonna be no food service in the
Yeah.
clubhouse at all?
Eventually, maybe, it really depends on what we find out with the health department.
Okay, so, and then the sanitary systems are gonna be designed for a food service in the clubhouse, or that's gonna be an after the fact?
It would just basically be for restrooms,
Okay,
you know.
okay, and so size accordingly, and so, again, yeah, I went through your soil profiles, and my eyesight is not very good, and every soil profile is soil down, some sort of sand, soil loam down to 6 feet. That can't be on that site.
Yeah, it's anywhere, when we did our first rock borings near we could only do so much in
Yeah.
the fall. We hit rock anywhere from 3 feet to where we went 8 feet without hitting it. So it's a
Yeah.
varied thing.
Oh, yeah, a lot of
It's
holes in there. So is
And
it,
that's just off the soil, that's how the soil.
is that good, that's the
Yeah.
county soils maps.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be blasting involved for the park itself?
We're hoping not. We wouldn't do that. Harris actually took our topographic
Uh-huh.
information and they designed a course around that.
Yeah, this topo stuff on here, is this actual as-built stuff, or is this kind of off some maps?
What it is, it's real, it's a topographic survey from the highway up to about the tree line.
Okay.
The rest of it
so
is
right away, yeah.
LiDAR. There was,
Yeah, some aerial stuff.
tons of aerial stuff has
Yeah.
been done through the UP in the last 5 years because of the pipeline
Yeah,
information. So we have access to that LiDAR data.
yeah.
And that's what we use to create we're really confident in our base map.
Okay. It's a lot of rock. It's a lot of rock. It's a lot of rock. I
When
mean,
we were looking at the first.
We were standing on rock.
Driveway, this is awful, and we were standing with Oberstar.
if you do cuts and fills with that rock, you'll be all right.
Oh, we warned it right away.
They started throwing out some numbers, and
Yeah.
it wasn't very.
Blasting. Don't forget the mats, right?
That's the UP.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
built on a lot of rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Laurentian Shield in Canada, all the way to,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's rock all the way.
Uh-huh.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
No one else? No? We need a motion on this?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
you will.
I will.
Okay. Commissioner Winslow.
Second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
First hurdle,
Thank you very
right?
much.
First
Good
hurdle.
luck, Eddie.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
And I know it's ADA compliant. 9 of the holes are barrier free, so
Awesome.
it's super inclusive for everybody. Last fall, my wife and I were playing mini golf, and there was some grandparents with their teenage grandchildren, and they were all of them having absolutely the time of their lives. And we just think that Marquette could use something like this. We were in Petoskey for a week for hockey, and we played 3 times.
So is there access to this westbound? I mean, how would westbound traffic get
In
to
that
this?
I'm
medium.
going the median.
Think of them the median.
Is it paved there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fully.
You get out of Lake and Chamber?
Not much.
I never go that way. I never go that way. I used to work that way. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a few,
highway.
like, God, it's.
There's a number of businesses
Well, it looks
along
like
there.
resident, you know, I
Yeah.
think there are smaller contractors and stuff on that side of the road. You know.
Eventually, it'll all be connected, all the way to Nagani. It's just about,
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see this area finally, you know, for them to take this on and, you know, that site, awesome. We're gonna cost the property when you get, the fact that someone's gonna break through that rock and get an access up on there. I mean, once you're there, the views
Right.
are awesome, you know, and it's, but it's a matter of getting that drive in there and getting it started, and then figuring out connectivity to adjacent properties if it can ever be done, you know, so, you know, it really could open the door to some other areas in there depending on what develops behind it.
just a last minute thought, but if there's any help that the brownfield can supply you with rock excavation, shoot myself or Andrew an email on that.
I'm wondering if that could be deemed a blighted site because of the inability to develop because of the rock.
Yeah, obsolete.
Working on a similar site like that,
Yeah, let's
Going
talk,
brownfield,
let's
that's-
talk tomorrow or something.
that would be a good opportunity for you if we could do that.
So basically, there's eligible costs
Yeah.
that the brownfield can pay for. And then the township gets paid back over time through the incremental improvements and, you know, the value of what you add to the property. The township has to agree to a term, the length of time. I know that we've done 2 in the last several years, up to 8 years, so. Depending upon what the costs are, you just break that down over a period of years, and then that gets repaid to
Do you
the.
have your own brownfield authority?
No, but we can run it through the county.
So you're using Ann?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm working with Ann.
Yeah, well, make sure you brochure on that. And thank you for your proposed investment in the community, and we look forward to seeing it come to fruition.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Unfinished business,
0.
correspondence. We have some correspondence.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna let
sure.
Eric take both of these. He's been keenly involved.
Yep, so as I updated the commission at the last meeting, we had an upcoming formal hearing for that 760 Lake Enchantment property maintenance issue. As I told you at the last meeting, those tickets were issued, civil infraction tickets were issued to each property owner, of which there are 3. And so at the time, the upcoming formal hearing on the 17th, we were preparing for that with our attorney, Roger Zappa. However, before that hearing, staff through our attorney, Roger Zappa, were able to come to a settlement agreement with the involved parties. This provides, well, it states that the property will be cleaned up by June 1st. We did recognize that there are kind of significant hurdles to try to get it cleaned up in the middle of the winter. So it's signed by all parties, including staff, our attorney, supervisor, all three property owners. It does provide us to further enforce if the property, or if the problems persist. It also provides the township to, come June 1st, if it's not cleaned up, it provides the township the opportunity to go in there and clean it up ourselves, and then issue the costs against the property owners. So we did see this as pretty favorable, and we kind of wait to see come June 1st. Let's hope it gets cleaned up, so.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that I think this was a preemptive recommendation on Roger's part, just based on what the judge was likely to say anyway. But to have all three signatures, and you know, I know that Danny Johnson was subpoenaed. He was located, and they agreed to sign it. So I think this lets them know that we're serious about the property getting cleaned up, and it's a great procedural effort for Eric to take and for me to learn from too, because I've really, most of the time you get things done without having to go this route. This one is a little bit of an anomaly in that there are three property owners, so you can't just focus on one guy or woman. So yeah, I think Eric did a great job administering this, and probably a lesson, a good lesson for him, and hopefully the property owners as well.
And how to do it the next time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for people to know that we're serious.
Well, in that they've been given ample opportunity, right? So this is like the nuclear option, but it's at the end of the notification period, for sure.
Are they required to pay our attorney's fees as part of the settlement?
If they were found to be, they were just issued like it's like a ticket, a misdemeanor ticket, right?
Okay.
So if they pay that, there's really no fees. Obviously, Roger's gonna have some costs involved.
Okay, I mean, but that wasn't included in the settlement?
Correct.
Okay.
No.
Okay, just wondered.
If it goes further than that, and they do have a formal hearing, and they are found to be guilty, I suspect that requirement is in the ordinance too, for them to pay our fees as well. But hopefully it doesn't go that far and we move forward on that. And then B, I'll get into.
Yep, so included in your packet near the end, the last few pages, we had, again, briefly discussed this at the last meeting. First item would be that kind of spreadsheet list that looks like this, which just shows, obviously, the green ones have been approved and the red shaded ones have not. So I would, again, for your information, nothing really to act on tonight, but something to consider as we move forward and consider more of these requests. I don't know about Jason, but I often tell people that call that presently the township does not have any restrictions on number or density of these in the residential areas, but that's not to say that at some point we may have to institute those if this number continues to grow, which it very likely will. So again, just for your information, this will obviously be updated as we consider more of these requests, and I can share this further as it is updated. So. Also, on the next couple pages, right behind that list, is the fire department's checklist for inspections. While this is a very general list, talking with Chief Shanahan, he did say that this is the one that they would generally use for a short-term rental inspection upon approval from the planning commission. You will notice that there's a few items in there that will not apply to a residential property, like exit signs and just other things throughout that are pretty obviously not applicable to a residential property. However, as we discussed at the last meeting, the question was brought up, what do they look for on these inspections, and this is basically it, so.
It's quite thorough.
So I did note that it was last updated in 2015. And I don't know if that's relevant or not, but listening to our public last time, they were very concerned about the electrical wiring.
Okay,
So-
we can relay that back to the chief and see
Yeah.
if he wants to make any adjustments on there based on
Yeah,
that.
and I don't know, what their level of, knowledge is about that. If I were-
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
that.
they're not electricians, but,
Yeah. I do know most fires are always attributed to faulty wiring. So, maybe that's a.
yeah, we'll relay that to the chief for sure.
Yeah, I
Let him
mean,
know the planning commission's concerned there.
Well, they must know something because there's like, what, a dozen items under electrical that they have to check off, so, right?
yeah, you would think, yeah. I mean,
So they do,
I'm sure those two electricians that were here probably, yeah.
well, they'd probably look at it in a little different way, but at least this
Yeah.
looks like some basic
Mhm.
inspection of the electrical system and everything, right?
So was that person notified that he did not receive
Yep, he received, Eric drafted a
letter?
record of decision, which is required on all special use permits, whether it's for or against.
Okay.
So he's made aware of the requirements if he wanted to try to apply again.
And do we know whether these people who were approved actually use the property as short-term rentals? Or we just approved them? We
Yeah,
don't care?
we don't track that.
We don't care, right?
We don't track it.
Okay, all right, I was just curious.
Right, because there was a few that said that they eventually would like to live there.
Right, so.
Well, it's
yeah.
almost like a liquor license, right? Because once a use is established on a property, it can transfer properties or transfer owners and still apply to that property.
Oh. Well, they could sell it, and it could still be a short-term rental.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, so we don't even know who, oh, well, that's all interesting. Did you know that?
No.
Me either.
It passes with title.
But I
Permit.
think our concern was we weren't sure how many were out there right now, and there really is a low number for.
There may be some operating under the radar, but Eric and I don't scour the
Police,
internet
right,
looking
there's
for
no-
short-term rentals. Nor do we get complaints about short-term
No.
rentals, so. Until it becomes an issue, I usually tell folks, just don't overzone,
Right.
And don't pass ordinances that you can't enforce.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right.
One of the concerns, one of the gentlemen that spoke against the Norwood property, and it doesn't look like there's any other that were in the Norwood neighborhood, of course, maybe I'm not that familiar with it, but was density in particular neighborhoods. Do we have any regulations regarding density
No.
of these? Okay.
No,
I mean,
like-
you're, sorry, Bethany, but the only area, I believe, where you would run into that would be Trowbridge, section 16, because that's the only platted area of the community. Everything else is meets and bounds descriptions and larger parcels.
I just think the consumer likes a variety, some people want to be out in the woods, close to trails.
Some
and
people want to be on Third Street, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot on Third Street, right across from Black Rocks,
Yeah.
So like the density of it, I think it's driven by the consumer.
You mean there are some on Third Street? I don't see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no,
Oh,
on Market City.
Market City, right,
Mhm.
right. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, okay.
For some reason, I'm thinking that Ann Jackson didn't get approved.
She did not. No, remember how many people were against that?
Well, it says it's approved.
That may have been because she was only renting a room in the house and not a short-term rental. I'd have to look at that.
Yeah, I'll take another look at that one
Yeah.
too.
I remember she left here crying and
Aw.
all upset. And,
She-
well, yeah, but there was stuff that happened before that.
Wasn't here.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I notice, do you really need to have exit signs in these short-term rentals?
No, Eric was just talking about that. He said there's things on there that are not applicable, but they don't have a dedicated short-term rental
Okay.
checklist. They just use one of these, and then they write NA if it doesn't apply.
Okay. What about, fire exits, like from the second floor? I don't see that on here either.
Well, secondary egress is required.
Okay.
Oh,
Is that
in
what that
some
would-
fashion, yeah.
Maybe they'll make a new checklist.
I thought that was.
I mean, it might fall under, like, for example, under interior, exits obstructed, number of exit location, exit access, exit marks. So I mean, it might fall under there as they go through their own individual process. Again, I can get with Dan again and try to nail down what exactly they're looking for, but.
So you mean with our ordinance for the short-term rentals, if it's a two-story house, they have to have a external exit from the,
I think that's true, Denny, for any rental, but
Just from my experience.
Code
and
standpoint.
Code standpoint, property maintenance, just a secondary egress from, so you can't have for example, a room in a basement with just a 2x3 window. It needs to be an egress window, so you have the exit through the door to the bedroom, and then you have the exit through the egress window.
well, I know, but from the second floor, is the window considered a acceptable egress?
Yeah, as long as it's big enough, yeah.
It is?
Yep.
So even if you're dropping down
Yep.
30 feet?
Yep.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
you might not burn to death, but you might break your legs.
Yes, it might happen.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah, no, our bedroom, you know, we can open them wide, but it's a long drop,
Just roll.
yeah.
You
Do you
don't,
have a ladder? I always think
No.
about putting
we
a
don't
ladder
require
in the
that.
sun's
We
room.
don't require they have
One of
one.
those roll-up ones.
Oh,
Yeah,
the city.
yeah, you can just.
I was gonna say, doesn't,
I
the
think
city
the city
requires
does.
this?
I don't-
I
We
guess I
have
can't-
one.
I can't
Yeah, I don't wanna
speak
get
for
into a big discussion
Right,
about
I
building
can't
codes
speak.
because that's not
Think
really
about it.
our bag.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Funny that you think
right,
about it,
right,
you know?
yeah. So maybe,
Try to stay in my own lane.
maybe I'm sure their best friends at the city could help them with the short-term rental check.
Okay, well, let's move on to reports then. Township board report.
Oh my goodness, the township board met on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. There was a presentation from the Little League to use the field and do some upgrades in order to get a contract to use it for their field and for high school softball. And another group called Superior Fast Pitch, which is girls 8 to 18, so something new, didn't know that was there. They did not bring us a real proposal, they just came and did a presentation. So if the Recreation Committee has any questions that we should be forwarding to the Township Board to ask, please give those to the board.
I think the board leads the rec committee, so whatever information that you have, you should communicate that to the rec committee in case there's anything they need to do work on.
Okay, so who should I ask to do that, Jason? Lynn? Okay, so, my concern, is gonna be, are they gonna monopolize the field the whole summer? Okay, so I have a concern about that personally.
That's what I was just gonna ask too.
Yeah,
Are there
yeah.
certain days that they get it?
Yeah, I
or-
don't know, I don't
Well,
know.
they should have a schedule.
This is all new, yeah, so we'll figure that out. We did have a presentation from the Marquette County League of Women Voters. We did have a discussion about future township events, so you might all be familiar with that car show and that Christmas tree lighting thing. There was lots of discussion, and we are going to have a work session. So I'll let you know when that happens, because I think you may want to attend. The rec committee may.
It's more along the lines of budgeting, isn't it?
Yes and no. Okay, we talked about, planting a tree instead of cutting a tree down, and, since the tree fell over, and, yeah, there were lots of issues with the tree, I guess. We also are going to use our ARPA funds, as I mentioned last time, to buy this vacuum extractor thing that goes down into the ground and tells you if there are lead pipes. Yeah. And we are going to get a new camera system for this room. I still was hoping for bigger screens. I'll have to mention that again, so we're gonna use some money to do that. So it should be better. I don't know what this mess is.
When you say new camera system, does that mean that the Zoom meetings are contemplated?
Yes, and they will be live, I guess, that's my understanding. You should be able to have a camera set up so that it's doing this live and people can watch it live.
Like on YouTube, it'll be on.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. We'll kind of see Randy Rattari is working with 906 Technology. we had allowed people to come into our meetings on the computer system with a Zoom link, but then we had some people who shouldn't have been at the meetings trying to do things they shouldn't have been doing. So then he stopped, yeah, so.
When we first started, or I don't know, when some of the first meetings I attended, we were in the other room.
I like that room, they have
And
a
there
better
was-
system.
There was a camera, it was like a dome on a stick. And those were all Zoom meetings, weren't they?
I don't know.
Those were all transmitted live via Zoom?
I wasn't here then. So Jason?
Which
You mean for the
meetings?
planning commission?
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of like, we had workshops in there, or
No.
work sessions.
Ryan, right? Ryan was our other
Staff
planner,
planner,
staff planner. Yeah, he would sit behind this, it was this high. It was like a globe at the top, or not a real globe, but like an oval, like an egg shape. And that was the camera. I thought, that wasn't it? Okay. I thought I was on TV, but I guess I wasn't.
The only Zoom meetings we did were when we were in lockdown, or when we weren't meeting in public, in person.
Right, but wasn't that, but those were done in that other room, right?
No, most of us were at home, sharing a screen for information.
Well, I thought there was a couple meetings where some people came, all right, never mind. I don't want to take up too much time. But,
We had a meeting.
I think the point is that the board is cognizant of
Yeah.
changes in technology and changes in the desire and what people want to see. Everybody's got that instant gratitude, they want instant satisfaction, so it will be nice, and I know that they're still advocating for, I know Representative Combenzi is still advocating for allowing people, like she drove down, she posted on Facebook how she was leaving Marquette on like Tuesday morning, and it was awful out, and she's got to drive down there. Why shouldn't she be able to zoom into a meeting in Lansing? Or why shouldn't Denny on an idle Tuesday night in the middle of a blizzard be able to
right.
come into a meeting from, it's already hard enough to get people to volunteer, right? So why wouldn't it be easier to get people to volunteer by saying, Bethany, you've got the kids, you got to be home tonight, but you can still participate for an hour in a meeting and make a decision on something. It's kind of foolish, but it's also, the pandemic made us all realize that business can be conducted that way if policy changes.
But technically, this new camera will allow that to be done, right?
That's my understanding. Now we'll see what really happens here. Yeah, we'll see how that all works.
But that won't be Zoom, that'll just be broadcast, where you can watch.
Right.
You can't
Correct.
participate.
Correct. Well, correct. But
The
you
way the
should.
law is currently written and reverted back to after the pandemic, well, after a certain point in the pandemic, unless you're serving in the military, you cannot be absent from a meeting and make a vote on something. Not be in person to make a vote.
And the public cannot comment under this new iteration of the law.
But you can Zoom into meetings, and we allow the employees to Zoom into meetings and comment.
Right,
So
that's that.
so I'm not kind of sure how this is gonna play out, but we did send, Lynn did send a letter from the board to Sarah Combenzi and who's the other person in
McBroom.
the farmer, yeah, Ed McBroom, saying that, we feel that this should be allowed.
Okay.
I don't know that it's going anywhere.
No, it's being discussed,
Yeah,
for sure.
but I don't know that it'll move. But
MTA's on board.
we're again a small number voting block in the big area downstate.
Yeah, but you know who's driving a lot of this is staff.
Well, good. I mean, really, because,
From around the state, you see how effective and efficient it is, right? And it's easy.
so you may see, back to the recreation, or back to the event committee, you may see some changes in the future. There was much discussion, and again, I feel it's not the township board's place to fund events for the public. Okay, so I guess I have a different opinion than's been here in the past. But I'm thinking it's a group's responsibility to fund those. The Third Street, whatever group funds that Third Street car event. And maybe the businesses put some money into it, but I do not believe the city puts any money to fund that.
Well, one thing about Powell Township, they throw some nice concerts in the park.
And do they fund those, or does that come from a grant that's funded through the community foundation?
Guy at the end might know.
Yeah, who funds the,
I have a completely different opinion on that than you do, so I'm not gonna answer that question.
no, who funds the ones in Debate? You
No
don't know?
idea.
Might be self-funded, there might be donations on that too.
I know they sell raffle tickets and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure that the board and a lot of boards around the state of Michigan provide money for community-oriented events.
So we're gonna be looking at
It's
all
a
of that?
service that you provide,
Yeah.
like water and sewer.
Right.
Yeah, well, we'll look at all of that, so, I'm not sure.
But that's just my opinion.
Well, and I don't know that any is right or wrong, Jason. I
Mhm.
think it's really good to look at this, because I don't know that the residents know that the money is being spent on certain things.
Well, when we get that new park that Jason's working on, we can have another John Prine concert like they had up in Big Bay. That was a lot of fun.
And a great way to fundraise for those things is to put money into the community foundation, who then sends it back to the township events committee to fund that stuff. Your community then is funding it, not your taxes. So lots of things to kind of look at. So it's never bad to shake things up a bit. Might come out the same. The brownies still bake the same, no matter if you had the eggs first or the oil, right? So we'll see. So that's kind of what we talked about. We don't like the snowbanks, that's what I'll say. We did mention that the snowbanks need to come down at the intersections, that they're very dangerous, and even the snowbanks out here.
And they're back.
And the streets are really skinny today.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Jim.
you're welcome. But I do have to say, I think the plowing has been a lot better this year than in recent years. They've really been on it a lot more. Unless it's on a Saturday or Sunday, then you don't see until Monday, but
You guys have to realize how much MDOT and the road commission has been gutted over the years as far as funding
I
goes.
know.
So, yeah, I agree. And that was the emphasis that we put on the road commission a while back. It's a little bit of back scratching going on, right? Because we're repairing the roads, self-taxing ourselves to repair the roads. So, yeah, snow plowing's gotten better. Wonder why. I think that correlates. And then, yeah, that's the most amount of snow I can remember in a 36-hour period that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it only gets worse the more you go up the hill. So I think
No.
Lake's at 632 feet. I think Steve would know that, approximately 630. I'm at 1120, which is just the start of the kind of the snow belt. And I spent a lot of
We're
time
up in the
snowballing the
1200.
last few
Yeah, we're in the
days.
snow
So
belt.
We're at the same level as Sugarloaf, where we
Are
are.
you?
Yeah, 1200, 1220, I think my house is.
So
That's
when,
what Sugarloaf is.
So you're 100 feet higher than I am.
yeah. And when
Yeah.
I was growing up in Marquette Township, we had our own plow, the township plow.
Yeah,
So, and we had a mini golf course.
You also
Yeah.
had cows roaming Trowbridge not too long ago.
No, we didn't.
No, they were buffalo.
We had horses though.
Tatanka.
But yeah, we love the snow plow.
your own constable too.
Yeah, we had our own constable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he didn't make 80,000 a year though, did he?
no.
No.
What was his name? I forgot. Reds, no. What was his name? Oh my gosh. Knew all the kids by name though,
I know, I can't remember anymore either.
but we knew where he lived. Anyways.
Okay, rec committee report.
The rec committee didn't quite have a quorum last Tuesday. It was kind of short notice, and all that was designed to do was to basically have them take a look at the rec plan that they were already involved with anyway, previously, and have a look at it. So we'll gain some traction with them next month and meet and then go over the updates on the situation with the rec plan and the status of the grant application, which is something I'll be focused on likely the entire month of March.
So I just have a question for the rec committee. Somebody asked me about the roof over the ice arena and where that was at, and I see it's in our rec plan still. The township board people didn't think it was viable anymore, but I still kind of think it is. So just
What's the
know-
question?
Was it still in the plan?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm, and I-
Yeah, just in case there's an opportunity that you don't know about that comes through.
Mhm.
In fact, you know, there's several different granting funds through the DNR when you have a plan like this. One is land and water conservation, which is more shoreline geared or stormwater geared. The other is acquisition grant to acquire property, development grant to develop that property. And then there's the recreation passport. It's a little P on your license plate that you go visit the state parks. There's a portion of that goes back into a kitty, and then it gets doled out. So for instance, I think it was the playground equipment was purchased with a passport grant. And the passport grants are more designed for the smaller kind of neighborhood type parks. And as long as your grant program's like around the $50,000 mark, most of those are getting funded right now, so. 50,000 might be a little shy of what is needed to stretch a roof over it, but if it extends the ice surface and allows us to do a Trowbridge Park like farmer's market on an inclement day, or there's a number of things that can be done once you have a roof over your head. So yeah, it might be a little pie in the sky, but I think it is doable. It's just finding the right funding source and group of people to get it done.
Mm, yeah, you never know.
Mm-hmm. Nobody ever thought we'd put a tunnel on the highway. It was just a line on a map.
Road committee?
Nothing substantial to report. We have not met since the road committee has not met since the last planning commission meeting. However, we do meet next week on Tuesday, March 1st, so.
Planning and zoning report.
I don't even know why we put this on the agenda, but basically what what was reviewed tonight. We've had some interest in somebody wanting to develop several sheets of ice in Marquette Township, a proper ice rink, 2 sheets of ice with a restaurant bar overlooking, indoors, and then maybe a practice sheet. So I've had several conversations, end of last week, beginning of this week, with some folks, and it's all part of that Ross property, the 40 acres. So it's pretty interesting how all of a sudden that's turned on, and so we're hoping that we'll continue discussions on that. Eric's been, I know, taking in business licenses still and getting some residential and commercial infill projects underway. I'd have to look through my emails, but just ongoing some stuff. The big residential projects, there really hasn't been any progress on that as of late.
Anything from your affordable housing group?
We agreed to meet again.
That's right. Step one.
That was a big step. No, they're looking at doing I don't know if it would be countywide, but certainly the Marquette, greater Marquette area. So Chocolate, Marquette Township, maybe Nagani, Ishpeming, and the city doing a market study. I'm aware of a market study that was done very recently, I believe, but was pinpointed at a certain area in the township. So my task from that meeting was to try to obtain that market study and then see if it could be expanded upon by the same consulting firm that did it, because they're out of Chicago and I guess they're quite renowned. So.
How about the Native American marijuana dispensary and the one that's across from the old Bonanza?
Right, yes.
Midwest Security, maybe that building, is that?
Yeah, Midwest Securities,
Okay.
yeah, I know that's kind of stalled out.
Both of them? Oh, no, the Native American, they're operating.
They're open,
The
yep,
outpost, right?
yeah.
But the one at Midwest Security, they're not.
Right, so they have, you know, per your approval, they have a certain time frame to get going, and then if they don't, they'll need to come back to us. But I did recently sign off on their, it's a legal term, I can't remember. It's a letter essentially stating that they went through all the hoops with the township to gain zoning approval, and I did sign off.
Was there a easement that they were to grant to Pelto for a real estate company? Is that, am I thinking the right place?
No, it's a different real estate company that,
Yeah, Select
Select
has a
driveway.
driveway next to theirs, it's not affected by Midwest Securities property.
Oh, okay.
it was just like, we were talking about the fencing over there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I did ask John Kangas, when the marijuana tax money comes to the local governing people. He thought it had to be open. Well,
It's
I
annual.
couldn't find it. I looked all over. It comes in March. Probably the beginning of March, that money will be listed and who's gonna get how much. But he thought the business had to be open for over a year before the township would, our business in the township, before we would get any money. But I don't know. I couldn't find it.
Oh, yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
So, yeah, so maybe more important to the township board as additional revenue.
I had a question about the marijuana licensing fee, the $5,000 fee. It seems like and maybe it was just a poorly written article, but it was either Ishpeming or Nagani just amended some ordinance to allow marijuana establishments. But I thought that the article said that they also amended a provision that would require a $5,000 fee every year. Do we have an annual $5,000 fee, or is it just one time?
No, we have a one-time fee, and that may be considered a little bit of an overreach, that may get challenged. You know, we have a zoning fee to establish a land use. You know, they're trying to squeeze 5,000 out of a zoning approval that already occurred, so, you know.
Do they have to get a business license, though?
Yeah, they might, that's a good point, they might tack it on to the business license application. The township didn't go that far, and that was ultimately ratified by the board, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure that, I mean, at least the newspaper article reported that this $5,000 fee would be an annual fee. And it was one of our sisters' communities here, either Ishpeming or Nagani. I just wondered if you had heard anything about that, and if that's something that's being considered about.
I read the article too, Denny, but,
That didn't catch your eye?
I mean, it did.
Uh-huh. Okay, so
But
you did notice it.
It's
then.
$5,000 a year.
Right, but I mean, if these, you know, right now, we only have one of these operating, but, and I thought it was, it would apply to existing, in other words, nobody was gonna be grandfathered in to just have the $5,000 fee. Anybody that had already paid the $5,000 fee would have to pay it again on an annual basis, right? Is that how you read that?
Yes.
Okay, and you think that's going too
These,
far?
these types of licenses and permits are not transferable in most cases.
I know, but even if the same, okay, so I guess what I'm asking you is, do you think it's a feasible idea to explore amending
the ordinance to
our
require-
ordinance to require a yearly $5,000 fee?
That would be a question for the township board.
Okay. I mean,
Is it feasible? It's certainly feasible.
well, and you think that would be, you think that that's onerous and would be challenged as onerous, or?
That's my own opinion, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know, you
Uh-huh.
know, how it's been applied across the state.
Okay.
I mean, we could do a study for you and
Well,
try to
I'm
figure
just-
it out, but
I'm
I
just
don't.
thinking, if we're thinking about, sometimes we have these talks about generating additional revenue, and that's why I brought it
Yeah, if they're making $5,000 a day, who cares? You know, if they're making $5,000 every 3 weeks, then $5,000 is something, so I guess it would determine what kind of money they're making, and if $5,000 didn't mean squat.
I'm sure that there's a lot, I don't wanna get into a big discussion about this, but there's a lot of money, that these places are generating in my review of some of the articles.
Mhm.
But they're all run by attorneys. This whole, in my experience, it's attorneys that are running the product. I mean, they're running these businesses.
Mhm.
Each of the applications, I think, that we received, there was an attorney heading the contact to the township and the contact to
I think
the state.
I think they're mercenaries. I think they've got a law firm that says, you want a weed license, right?
Well,
The
John-
kind they have downstate, where if you want to sue somebody for something, they have an attorney.
And they
They
got
got
their-
attorneys that are specializing in getting you a weed license.
Right out of the playbook from the big box stores.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So-
John Boehner,
That's all they do.
You might see his name on an application here in Marquette Township.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to discount your comment, Denny, and
I-
if you'd like, we can,
Oh, no,
suggest-
I just mentioned it to see if that was anything that would interest you, or, to pursue, if you thought it was
Well, yeah,
feasible.
anybody would like to have 5,000 more a year, but I don't know.
I think we were under the impression that we were supposed to get an annual, like what you just said, so we're already thinking we're
Well, we're
already
getting
going
that
to
from
be
the
getting
state, but
something.
now that
Right.
would be double dipping
Right.
to the
Yeah, that
developer.
seems like, that would be the.
But we already kind of thought we will be getting something annual from these, and we didn't have to go after the developer then.
Yeah, but the more marijuana that's taxed in the state, the less.
I'm surprised we haven't had
less
any
we
more
get, right?
applications, I know like.
There's been
county
inquiries, but
license.
right now
Yep.
Gil,
we're capped. So if that's something that you want to talk about at another meeting or the next meeting, about adjusting the ordinance, you can certainly propose, you as the planning commission can propose any kind of changes that you want to the board.
Okay.
I'll be interested to see how many places that sell marijuana can actually survive. I'm interested to see that because,
So when they
They're
apply,
across
can
the
they get a
street.
variance even if we're full, just to even still try to ask?
No,
Or
that would
or
be
do
a-
you just say, no, we don't have any more, and then they go somewhere else?
That would be akin to a use variance, which are typically frowned upon in Michigan, because it's almost like a spot zoning.
Yeah.
At least that
So we just turn them away and they go to their sister cities?
in Nagani Township. I don't know, it's up to you guys, if you guys think that, we've maybe had 3 or 4 calls in the last year about, where's your ordinance at, are you gonna open it up? And I just said, I think the planning commission's gonna give it some time, or the board's gonna give it some time to kind of mature and see what happens, and then make adjustments from there,
Right.
so.
Well, as it matures, I don't see much action. I mean, the outpost is kinda, I don't hear much about it, and then the other one hasn't opened. So to me, I'm open to more license,
Mhm.
because it just seems like it's not as, I don't know, not as many issues. with it.
Intrusive as you
Right.
initially thought.
Thank you,
right?
yes,
Mhm.
that's exactly it.
There's this annual state fee for marijuana license, right?
That the licensee pays to the state? Absolutely.
Yeah. How much is that?
I don't know.
1 million.
Is it
it's
now?
hard to find some stuff online.
You have to hire an attorney.
I mean, I was having a hard time maybe.
I guess I'm kinda looking at it as like a, liquor license, and we pay an annual fee to the state, it's only $900. And, but we don't pay anything to the city
No,
for it, so, I'm kinda looking at,
there's a limit.
It's kinda-
right? There's only
well,
so many
I
liquor
mean,
licenses
why
in
should you
Marquette.
charge them if you're not charging alcohol?
Right.
Somebody that's selling alcohol.
Yeah.
I'll send, our manager an email in the morning about a couple of the items that we talked about tonight, just to broach the subject about what the planning commission's talking about.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, Jace?
No, not at this time.
Any announcements? Any public comment? No one here for public comment. Nobody comes to these anymore. We used to have,
It's been this way for 10, 11 years.
No, I mean,
You gotta do something controversial.
Students, we used to
then
have
they'll be
students
here.
come,
Oh.
government
Press.
students from the high school.
no, I can't think of his name with the commissioner.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
It'd take minutes.
Which commissioner from where? Oh, Pete LaRue used to
Yeah,
come.
Pete LaRue.
Yeah.
Pete LaRue doesn't even come anymore.
Right, I'm surprised.
It's a pandemic.
He's not as mobile as he
Jeez.
was in years past.
Okay. All right.
We can sell tickets to the planning commission meeting.
Well, you missed the one 2 weeks ago. That one was going pretty good.
Yeah.
I listened to it. I did the meeting minutes, so yeah, I was
Yeah.
able to hear Mr. Donker's testimony and in his unfortunate health. And then the gentleman that is complaining about the right-of-way dumping debris, but
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
we'll address that in the spring. And that guy doesn't know terminology to save his life. He has a permit, he has an easement to use a portion of undeveloped right-of-way to access his property. That's it.
Right, it's not his driveway.
So it's
Correct,
not
that
his-
is public
his.
property.
Oh.
Don't let anybody tell you wrong,
He
and
he
no,
thought it
we're
was his
not,
I
property.
know, I wouldn't.
we're not in the
think
business of
talking, I
abandoning
was
right-of-ways in Marquette Township. Historically, we have not done that. Now, we did that for the bank, but that was a parking lot. I mean, it had no value to the community, essentially, as a public space.
And that didn't go anywhere.
So that's why the sign
And I
was
don't
torn
think it's
down.
quite over yet.
I hope not.
So that's why the sign was torn down by somebody from the township. Said he put a sign up,
No,
private property,
someone else did.
and
Someone
someone
else
from the
put a
township
sign
pulled
up
it down.
somewhere.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
shouldn't have the sign up
Yeah.
there.
Is
Yeah,
he-
but I don't think that person put a sign up. Someone else put a sign up somewhere.
Well, either way.
Yeah, Mr. Britton used to do that.
If,
But hey, whatever.
yeah. And the county, I will say, prior to them doing that anymore, they do get with us, which is a nice connection to make. Think about, if you have, you know, like, there's some properties in the township that we would like to see developed in Trowbridge Park. The problem is that they're on undeveloped right-of-ways. So these speculators come in and think, well, I'm just gonna use the right, I'm gonna get a permit from the county and put a driveway, let's say 300 feet to the back of this property. That's not gonna work for us, because if you want fire service in March, when it's sloppy and the trucks can get stuck, that's not gonna work. So if it's a certain distance, I believe it's required to be brought up to a 22A gravel haul road, or a road, county A spec road, I think it is. So, yeah, things have changed since those things have been grandfathered. Better planning.
Any more comments from planning commissioners? Steve,
None, thanks.
None for me.
Denny,
None for me, Jim.
Bethany,
None for me.
Linda.
None for me.
I guess I don't either then.
Is there anything that the planning commission would like to have staff study or look at? You know, we're not just here to, and not that I'm trying to add more work to Eric or my plate, but if there's any topics that come up, you know, throughout the month or between meetings or anything, just let us know if you want more information on things, a map on something or something you're unsure of. You know, there are educational opportunities that come through MSU Extension and MTA, and I try to forward those on to you as much as possible now. You know, hopefully Eric's looking out for those opportunities too. So I know we do a pretty good job, and I know time is a bit of the essence, but if there are, you know, if you do want to sign up for something, you do have a budget as a planning commissioner to continue to educate yourself. So if it's something that you're interested in, I think it's a fascinating career.
So the MAP seminars, are those paid for?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Michigan
okay.
Association of Planning.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
And then there's an MTA conference. Those things will probably start to be in person again next year, so, or maybe even later this year. So we'll keep you apprised on those things, and I don't know, maybe we can all rent a vehicle and go somewhere and get educated on stuff and ask those questions that are more legalese, if you will, than you know, philosophical.
Well, you know, you probably see a lot of things, you and Eric see a lot of things that are very interesting that come across your screen. And then sometimes I'll see something, and then, like, for example, this community development in Ann Arbor that was written up recently in the press, where they did a combination of mixed income housing. They had solar panels on the roof. You saw that, right?
I don't believe I have, actually.
Okay, I thought I sent it, maybe I didn't, but those seem impressive to me, but I don't know, you probably see a lot of stuff come across your, but I'll forward it on to you.
Well, the housing issue is a big deal, and it's surprising to attend the meeting because the only players that were at that meeting that I attended was the city of Marquette, the county, Andrew, Ryan Diedrichson, who's now there. Nobody's got a clue of what to do. We're just trying to figure it out. But this is a major issue because if Marquette area is going to continue to grow, and you've got a median house value of $300,000, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So we have to be innovative, and we have to start thinking about things like changing our zoning, loosening things up a little bit to try. And so that's what hopefully in a matter of months or 6 months or a year, we'll be able to come back and say, okay, here's the playbook for moving forward on affordable housing for our area. And a market study would really help establish that, so that way, you know, right now we require, I think it is 1,000 square feet of finished floor area on a single-family dwelling. We do have a special use permit for a tiny home, but we're not currently allowing things like geodesic domes and container homes. These are all very popular things right now, but you know, we also have to be able to work with our partners at the county, and sometimes reviewing plans for engineered shipping container houses are not.
What's the height in terms of stories limitation for
In the township?
yeah.
I think the highest you can go is in the commercial district, and it's 50 feet, and that is usually derived by the height of our fire apparatus.
But I mean, a residential.
Residential,
It's still the fire.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm thinking of condos.
Oh,
Like, for
condos, yeah. I mean, if you have fire suppression, that's a different story. So if you're sprinkler,
Well, like for that 5 acre piece that you have there at Shrummer Park, so it's worth 500 grand, let's say. So-
yeah, we've had a discussion with a developer about doing mixed use. Going up, right? So we did talk about the 50 feet, and we did talk about a dimensional variance, should they be sprinkled. So that takes the responsibility of emergency away from the fire department and puts it back on the landowner, so that the onus isn't on the township. But in the development district, the max height is 40 feet.
And affordable housing is an
General
issue
business is
all over the United States. I mean, when I'm in Florida, big spread on their
Yeah, that
local
is.
newspaper, affordable housing, huge problem.
Yeah.
But wouldn't your issue with building codes be codes accepting of geodesic dome for a home, or a container home, or a straw bale home, or something like that? If they're gonna say, not in our county or not, the point is moot, isn't it?
Exactly, which is why staff hasn't really brought you any of those, I guess, more forward-thinking types of structures, because the county's not quite on board yet.
I know that there was a physician that built a house out on Green Garden, Mangum Road out there, a straw bale home. And they went through gymnastics to get building codes to accept that. You know, the insulation value, all that kind of stuff, that all had to be proven to them. And I think we were able to do that, but the cost was substantial just to prove their point, I think. So, you know, unless, if the building code said, yep, we'll accept that kind of design, then the county can say, come on, you can build those things out here, or the township.
Can we adjourn real quick and turn the recording off?
Yeah.
Okay, meeting adjourned,
Thank you.
8:35.
So here's my